Learning Visual Basic, VB, step by step. To start learning Visual Basic, you'll need to install an integrated development environment, IDE, like Microsoft Visual Studio. Download the free Community Edition from the Microsoft website. Understand programming fundamentals like variables, data types, and control structures. Familiarize yourself with Visual Basic syntax, including declaring variables and creating functions. Visual Basic is great for creating Windows applications with graphical user interfaces, GUIs. Learn how to design forms, add controls, and set properties. Understand how events work in Visual Basic and how to handle them. Explore different types of controls and how to manipulate them programmatically. Learn how to work with data, including reading and writing to files, databases, and handling user input. Discover how to handle errors gracefully using try-catch blocks. Familiarize yourself with OP concepts like classes and objects. Visual Basic supports OOP, which helps write more organized and maintainable code. Learn how to debug your code using Visual Studio's powerful debugging tools. Thoroughly test your applications and learn how to package and deploy them. Find help and guidance from online resources, tutorials, and forums like Stack Overflow and MSDN. Subscribe to Tech Life with Mannum on YouTube for more programming content.